Hi everybody, welcome to my channel if you are new here, and if you're one of my original friends, welcome back. I am so glad you're here with me today. My name is Katie and I have lost over 100 pounds this year using a GLP-1 to help me with my lifelong struggle with obesity and overweight, and I am sharing my journey here on this channel. And today I want to do a special episode, and it's actually quite a lengthy topic. So we're probably going to break it down into at least 2 parts, maybe even more. So what I want to share today is the exact strategy that I used to lose over 100 pounds in 10 months. There's a lot of advice out there from people, and I feel like most of it is kind of standard. Most of it is all the same. And mine is going to be a little bit different. Sometimes it's going to be a little bit controversial, and some people aren't going to like everything that I have to say, but I want to share my truth. I want to share my opinion. I want to share my things that I have discovered this year with you, and we're going to get a little bit more into that in a second. Now, before we begin, I have some disclaimers and please stick with me for these because I think they're important to hear. Number 1, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nurse practitioner. I am not a physician assistant. I am not a healthcare provider. I'm not a dietitian. I am not even an online nutritionist. So none of this that I am giving you is medical advice. I don't know you. I don't know your history. I don't know your medical situation or your medical condition. I don't know anything about you. And I cannot make any recommendations for you on your health journey. So this is not medical advice in any way. Okay. Number 2, we are all biologically different individuals. Yes, we're all humans, but we have a lot of differences in terms of our genetic background, our upbringing, our lives, our medical conditions, our bodies are different. Our terrain and our environment are all different. And so what works for me or what has worked for me may not work for you at all. Just because it worked for me doesn't mean it will work for everyone. So, keep that in mind. This is, again, it's just my experience. This is what worked for me, and I want to share it with you. Number 3, not everyone needs to do what I did. There are tons of people out there who got just as good as results as I have doing all of the traditional stuff, or even nothing at all. There are lots of people out there who did nothing to change their lives, but they took a GLP-1 medication and they lost tons of weight. So not everybody needs to do what I have done. I just want that to be said. Number 4, you are under no obligation to want the same things that I want or to be motivated by the same things that I want. I'm going to explain my reasoning for doing all of the things that I've done on this journey. But if they don't resonate with you, if you don't like them, if you don't have any desire to do the things that I did on my journey, you will get absolutely no judgment from me whatsoever. Everybody is on this journey of their own. Everybody is on this journey of their own choosing. And like I've said in a previous video, this should be a choose your own adventure kind of a thing. You are allowed to want to have slow weight loss if that is what you want. You are allowed to stop and smell the roses on your journey and do the minimum of changes and, have slow results or slow and steady results, or not to change and overhaul your whole life or anything like that. You are more than allowed to want that. And if that's what you want, please do that. You won't get any judgment from me. I don't think a lot of people are actually going to want to do the things that I talk about here. And I wanted to give sort of a hypothetical example, just so that we're all on the same page here. So the things that I'm going to outline here are in some ways kind of out there. Some of them may even be a little bit more extreme than other people are interested in. And I think that I was thinking about this earlier today. If you took a group of 100 people who are naturally thin, who've never struggled with their weight at all, have never been obese. They just live their lives and they're naturally thin. If you took 100 of them and you said to them, okay, you have a choice right now. If you want to stay thin, you're either going to have to take a GLP-1 medication for the rest of your life. If you do that, you don't have to change anything else about what you're doing. You will stay thin, but you have to take this medicine. Or you can change your whole life. You can change how you're eating. You can change how you're living. You can change all of the things that I'm going to talk about in these 2 videos today. And then you don't have to necessarily take the medication. You may not have to take the medication and you'll stay thin and healthy. I think that 90 out of 100 of them would actually choose the GLP-1 option. As much as the thin people out there want to hate on GLP-1, if they knew, if they were in our position and they knew what it would take to not require a GLP-1 medication, potentially, I think that they would change their tune right away. And I think that they would say, you know what, you're right, that's the better option. So if all of this to say, if you listen to these 2 parts that I have, that I'm going to elaborate here today, and you come out of it saying, oh my God, what the hell? What is she thinking of? Who wants to do all that? You're not alone. I think you'd be in the majority. Most people would probably feel the same as you. The spirit and the intention that I'm coming with to share all of this is because, like I said, all of the advice that I see out there is pretty standard. It's get your 100+ grams of protein, eat your fiber, drink your water, get your 10,000 steps a day, don't undereat, make sure you get enough calories, and excuse me, and and everything will work and everything will be great. And that is great if it works for you. But what I see is a lot of frustrated people out there. I see a lot of people who are trying all of the standard things and they're really working hard and they're taking a GLP-1 and they're not getting anywhere. They're losing a little bit or not at all, of weight, and it's very frustrating for them. And I wonder if some of these things are things that people may not have thought of or may not have considered doing in order to try to get results and approach weight loss and health from a little bit of a different perspective, or a lot of a different perspective, I guess. Let's be honest. So I want to give this information. I have been on a journey this year and I have gone down so many rabbit holes and I have done so much research and listening and learning and reading and searching and seeking to try to find answers. And I want to put that all, it's worked for me. I mean, that's one reason so far it's worked for me very well. And I want to kind of put these ideas out there into the world, and I'm not charging anything for it. I'm not creating a program that you have to pay for. I'm not hiding answers behind a paywall that nobody can afford, or creating elaborate programs that you have to follow, that you have to pay for, I guess. And you don't need to purchase anything. I'm here to kind of take what I have learned and what has worked for me, and I want to put it out there into the world for other people to see and to hear and to find out about. And it's up to you to decide if this is something that interests you. Awesome. If it is not, okay, that's fine. That's not what I'm here for. I'm not here to make money off of it. I'm just here to help. And I'm here to share different perspectives from what you might have already heard out there in the health and wellness and weight loss space. Okay. So that was a long set of disclaimers and explanation, and I hope you're still with me because I got a lot of more interesting stuff coming. All right, so what I want to focus on now for this next segment of the video is I want to just kind of go through step by step my progression through the year and what I did at every step of the way. So January 1st, I started my journey, and I did not have access to the medication yet at that point, but I knew that I was going to get it at some point this year, and so I kind of just wanted to start the ball rolling and lose as much as I could before I could get the medication. So month 1, I just started using, I have used MyFitnessPal for years and years and years, and so I just opened up my trusty MyFitnessPal And I set a goal for myself of eating 1,500 calories a day, no more than that. I shot for 100 grams of protein a day and at least 30 grams of fiber. And I focused on volume eating. So, normal smaller portion sizes just were not working for me at that point in time. My appetite was absolutely tremendous and I could not be satisfied on, a little bit of meat and a little bit of rice and a little bit of this. So I focused on volume eating, and two of the vegetables that really lend themselves very well to volume eating are cabbage and cauliflower. So I consumed probably my weight in cabbage and cauliflower that first month. I found a cabbage soup recipe that was actually delicious. I know a lot of people have probably done cabbage soup diets before and would rather die than eat any cabbage soup, but I actually found a recipe that was delicious, and I think I will link it in the description link below because it is a delicious soup. And if you are in a phase of your journey where you need a little bit more bulk in your meals to feel satisfied, and you want something that's healthy, I think it's a fantastic recipe. So I'm going to link that below. I also was making a cauliflower squash casserole that was also absolutely delicious. It was kind of time intensive, and a lot of chopping involved, lots of vegetables, lots of herbs, lots of this and that and everything, but it was absolutely delicious. And I kind of lived on that for the first month as well. So I will also link that recipe down in the description link below as well. In terms, and then for a snack, I was always ravenous by maybe 4 p.m. or something. I was always ravenous. And so I would make myself a big bowl of soup. And what I did was I took, have you seen the Better Than Bouillon jars of soup base? You can kind of like just take a little bit and put it in water and voila, you have a delicious, I like the chicken flavor soup. I think they have vegetable, they have beef, they probably have other seafood and everything, I don't know, but I just used the chicken one, and very, very salty because I love salt, but also very flavorful. And I would just chop up some cauliflower, pop it in there, boil it until I got to the consistency that I like. That's going to be up to you. I don't like it totally mushy, but I also don't like it totally raw either. So I would just cook it for a few minutes until it got soft, a little bit tender. And I would throw some frozen pre-cooked shrimp in there as well. So it was super low fat, super low cal, really, really tasty, and a huge bowl of soup in the afternoon would tide me over until dinner time. So I kind of lived on those things for the first month. I did really well. I lost 13 pounds that month, but despite all of my volume eating and eating so much fiber and so much protein and drank water out the wazoo, I was still ravenous every day, and I was fighting my cravings, like white knuckling it through. So needless to say, I did well, and it was a very healthy diet that I was following, and I was getting good results, but I just couldn't hang on very much longer. So luckily for me, on February 5th, I was able to start taking Zepbound, the brand name for tirzepatide, and that sort of started the rest of my journey. So that was in February that we started, and I didn't really change my diet really at all. I think that I still kind of followed the same thing. For the first few weeks, it was slowly changing my appetite, but not very much. I mean, I was still easily able to eat 1,500 calories, but I wasn't really white knuckling it anymore. It felt like, okay, I'm still hungry, I'm still experiencing hunger and everything, but I'm not white knuckling it anymore. So even within the first couple of weeks, I was still able to follow about the same diet. I did not lose any weight. The first couple of weeks, I actually gained a pound the second week, and I was starting to be very frustrated and worried that maybe the medication wasn't going to work for me, or that I might have to change my diet in some way. But luckily, week 3 and 4, really, things started to kick in weight loss wise, and everything was fine. So that was good. So I continued to follow that for a while, until I think I did that for about 5 weeks, until I saw my doctor, and his advice to me also may be controversial for some. And his advice to me was, if you don't feel like eating, don't eat. He did not care how many calories a day I ate or how few. He said, you only need 60 grams of protein a day. So as long as you're getting 60 grams of protein a day, I don't care about anything else, but don't force yourself to eat. If you're not hungry, don't eat. try to hit the protein goal and you'll be fine. So that might be a little bit controversial, but that's what he said. That's the advice that he gave to me. So I took it to heart, and, I didn't really focus too much on it. But the one thing was, he didn't want me to snack anymore. And I was still having an afternoon snack every day because I really was hungry. So after about 5 weeks on 2.5, I went up to 5 milligrams. And within, I want to say the first week or two, I can't remember exactly anymore, but I think within the first week or two, the appetite suppression really did start to kick in for me then. And so I did not always meet my calorie target. I was still following the same kind of whole food, fiber, and protein focused diet, but I didn't always meet my goals because I just wasn't as hungry anymore. So it was a lot less volume. I wasn't really focusing anymore on volume eating because I didn't need to be. My stomach got full much, much faster. And so I really was more laser focused on the protein side of things. I wasn't really filling up on a lot of vegetables or fruits or, bulky things that I was before because I needed it to be satisfied. I was just focusing on protein. And some days I just couldn't stomach a chicken breast or any shrimp or any solid, just like regular protein. And so I did reach for a lot of different protein shakes. I think I featured at least one of them on my video about the supplements and things that I would recommend on the GLP-1 journey. I've said it before, but anyway, whatever kind of grab and go protein shake I had, and I focused kind of more on that, just to make sure that I was getting protein in every day. At that point in time, when I was on 5 milligrams, that is when I became aware of a condition called lipedema, and I'm about to do a whole video on that soon. I have a doctor's appointment coming up, and supposedly the person is experienced and knowledgeable about it and can diagnose whether I have it or not. So I'm going to go into more detail about what it is later. Short story is, it's an abnormal fat distribution, usually on the legs, sometimes in the upper arms as well. And it's where fat kind of gets trapped into some abnormal connective tissue, and fluid starts to build up, and it kind of is a big issue, and it does not resolve with diet and exercise. So you could be on a starvation diet and you're still going to have lipedema at the end of the day. It does not respond to caloric restriction or typical diets. And so that is when I discovered the concept of that, and when I started to believe that that was something that I have always had. I started to research it, and I started to say, well, gosh, is there anything that I can do? Right now, the only treatment for it is surgery, a specialized kind of liposuction that can help to get rid of the diseased tissue, and that's it. There are no dietary interventions that have been proven to work to cure it. But I did run across the information that a ketogenic or a carnivore diet can be and have been clinically beneficial for people to at least reduce the size of the fat, where it is distributed and stored. So I ran into the concept of the carnivore diet because some people were managing it that way. And I discovered Dr. Boz. She is an internal medicine practitioner. She's a doctor here in Florida, and excuse me. She kind of came up when I was researching carnivore and keto and stuff like that. I went into a whole deep dive into her. She's got a YouTube channel here I highly recommend, and I started watching everything that she had about insulin and how insulin is so important, and how our diets get it kind of wrong in terms of lowering insulin, and that insulin might be something that I also need to pay attention to. That kind of came onto my radar. So I said, okay, I'm all in. I cannot afford liposuction anytime soon. There's like no way. So what can I do to try to minimize it or manage it or get it under control? So that's when I'm like, all right, I'm going to deep dive into carnivore. I'm going to go all in 100% strict carnivore. And that's how I'm going to hope that I can manage it or minimize it or, reverse it or something. So that's another video I do have on that as well, but that's the short version of the story about carnivore. So at that point, I switched to strict carnivore. Now, it's not the strictest. The strictest form of carnivore would be red meat, or, I mean, other ruminant meat. So if you can get your hands on bison, if you can get your hands on like wild game, like venison and stuff like that, I think, but, or, you know, a lot of people just stick to beef. They stick to beef and salt and water. So that's like the strictest form. And I really am not that interested in doing that. I like red meat a lot, but I think I would, I don't think I could do it. So I am doing sort of a more loose version of carnivore. It's strict in some ways and loose in other ways, but I stick to eggs and bacon, which is not perfect, but it is what it is. It's a staple in my diet for now. So eggs, bacon, beef, all different cuts of beef, pork, all different types of fish, shellfish, lamb, chicken, and turkey. I'm not eating things like sausages because they tend to have other filler ingredients or a lot of spices and seasonings and even sugar most of the time. So I'm not eating any sausages at all. The only seasoning that I'm eating is salt. I do not eat pepper. I do not put any kind of spices or seasonings on it. It's just salt only, no condiments. So no ketchup, no barbecue sauce, no mayonnaise, no anything like that. No condiments. I do eat fats. So I eat butter, tallow, and bacon grease. That's what I use to cook eggs and meat in and everything like that. So butter, tallow, and bacon grease are the fats that I consume, other than the Body Bio products, but that's a whole different thing. In terms of beverages, I drink coffee, either just black, or I sometimes put those sugar-free electrolytes that I have talked about in there. I drink water. I prefer spring water. We have Zephyr Hills spring water around here that I can get at the grocery store in like a big jug. So I drink a lot of spring water, and I also like the Pellegrino for sparkling water. So I drink those, and I usually put electrolytes in those as well. So that's my carnivore diet. I know that it's not the most strict form, but this is sort of what I've been doing. This is about the bare minimum that I can make it for myself and still function happily as a human being. So that's my version of carnivore, and I have not eaten outside of that pretty much at all. The one exception would be when we go out to eat, which is about once a month. We go to a restaurant where I get oysters, and I really love oysters, but only if I could have a little bit of horseradish on them. So that is a plant, and it also probably has sugar in the prepared version of it, but I allow myself that treat once a month. So I put a little bit of horseradish on my oysters and I eat them that way. That's not carnivore. And I know at the restaurant that they cook in oils that are not really healthy, but I don't care. It's once a month, and that's okay with me. So I do eat, it's probably seed oils, and it's probably, or trans fats, or God even knows what it is, but whatever, it's okay. That's the one exception. Once I switched to carnivore, I stopped counting calories. I decided that I wasn't going to worry about it. I was just going to eat when I'm hungry and stop when I'm full or satisfied. And that is what I did. So usually I've talked about the ebb and flow before. So when you're taking this medication, there are days when you're really hardly hungry at all. And there's some days when you have a pretty regular appetite. So there are days when, there were a lot of days when I really just didn't want to eat breakfast. I mean, breakfast is a very important meal of the day, and I do mean to eat breakfast, but it's just that I'm not hungry, and I can't force myself to do it. So I haven't. I haven't usually forced myself to eat breakfast, but I probably eat breakfast. I usually do on the weekends because I can sleep in a little bit and like build up a little bit of hunger. I get to work at 7:30, and so it's like I'm just not that hungry at that time of day. So anyway, so I probably eat breakfast 1 to 3 times per week, maybe. Usually I'd eat lunch. So probably 5 to 6 days a week I would eat lunch. Not every day. Sometimes I would just wait until snack time or dinner time to eat. And there were times when I did like a 24-hour fast. So, my last meal would be, 6:30 p.m. on a Sunday, and then I wouldn't eat again until 6:30 p.m. on Monday. So I would throw in some 24-hour fasts or one meal a day kind of thing here and there, but only when I felt like it. I was never going to force myself to fast. Fasting has benefits, and it's something that I will probably incorporate more later on. But for this moment in time, I I did it if it felt right. If it didn't feel right, I wasn't going to do it. So occasionally I would throw in a 24-hour fast there. And then sometimes I would, like I said, I'd get hungry if by 4, and even if I hadn't eaten breakfast or lunch, and then I would just have a snack. I'm not going to force myself to wait till dinner if I'm hungry. So yeah, so I didn't force myself to eat, but I would eat if I was really hungry. Sometimes I would fast. At the beginning, I would sometimes feel hungry at bedtime, and I do not sleep well if I am hungry. If my stomach is growling and whatever, like I just can't sleep. But I didn't want to disrupt my insulin. You know, one of the things that this diet did for me was to help lower my insulin over time. And insulin is really kind of running the show, or it's one of the things that's running the show, that's super, super important to my success overall, is lowering insulin and keeping insulin low. And so if you eat something with carbohydrates, your insulin goes up, and then it takes a while to come down, especially if you are metabolically unhealthy like I was when I started. You really don't want to be feeding into that elevated insulin. You want to bring it down. You want to bring it down as best you can and keep it low as much as you can to restore metabolic health and function. So believe it or not, what I would do if I was still hungry, or if I was feeling hungry at bedtime, is I would take bites of butter. And I actually didn't enjoy it at all, but it worked. So if I would take, or sometimes I took coconut oil, even though that's not carnivore either, but sometimes I just couldn't eat the butter. But I would take a pat of butter, maybe a tablespoon of butter, and I would eat it. And that would settle my stomach, and my stomach would say, okay, we have some food, we're good. We have some energy, everything is fine. But again, fat is something that is not going to spike your insulin up. And so if you're going to eat something before bed, I suggest eating pure fat, or maybe a fatty meat, like a piece of prosciutto, which is one of my favorite snacks, or a piece of bacon, which would probably not raise your insulin much, if any at all. And again, the reason for this is because keeping insulin low is so important for everything. It's kind of the foundation of everything that I've been doing. Okay, so we're going to get into that more in the second video. So just to wrap up this first part, I really just focused on what I was eating and why I was eating it. So that's part 1 of this video. And I think the next part of the video is going to be more of a deep dive into the guidelines that I followed regarding all of the things that I was eating and why I was doing that. So, all right, so stay tuned for part number 2. I am going to bring that out next. All right, thanks for watching this far. Please come back for my next video. Subscribe and make sure you hit the little bell so that you can get a notification when part 2 comes out. All right, I'll see you in the next video. Hi, I'm popping back on here. There was one thing that I wanted to add to this video that I forgot to add while I was going through it. So I wanted to be very clear about ketosis and calories and insulin. So there's a very important nugget here that I need to get across. So if you are following a standard diet where you are eating carbohydrates all the time, you must absolutely be sure that you eat more than your basal metabolic rate. You do have to be very, very careful about how many calories you eat if you are eating carbohydrates. If you are eating carbohydrates and you have insulin in your system at a high level most of the time, insulin blocks fat burning. And when insulin is blocking fat burning and you're not eating enough to cover your basic metabolic needs, 2 things are going to happen. 1, your body is going to downregulate your metabolism and lower your metabolism. So you have to be very careful with that. You don't want that to happen too much. It's going to happen no matter what kind of weight loss you use. Your metabolism is going to go down, but I think it's going to go down at a more significant pace if you're under eating on calories while you're eating carbohydrates. The second thing that's going to happen is that your body is going to absolutely use your muscles as part of their fuel, because insulin is going to prevent your body from using its own fat. If your body can't access fat, it's going to have to get calories from somewhere, and that's going to come from your muscle tissue and maybe even your bones. So when they say you can't undereat, you need to not undereat on a GLP-1 medication, they are correct if you are eating a diet with carbohydrates in it. You have to be very careful. The same rules do not apply in a ketogenic state. So ketosis is a state where your body is running on ketone bodies and fat. And when your body is running in that state, your insulin is low and your body can access your body fat very readily and very easily. So if you eat, even if you undereat significantly, your body is just going to say, okay, well, I'm not getting enough coming in, but I have hundreds of thousands of calories in fat on the body. I'm going to pull from that, and then we're going to run and everything's going to be fine. It will still probably downregulate your metabolism a little bit, but it is not going to touch your muscle mass. Ketosis is a state that is relatively protective of muscle mass because, again, there's not the insulin that's telling everything to store and blocking fat burning. The insulin is low, your body can access fat, and whatever its caloric needs are can be met by taking fat out of storage as opposed to taking it away from muscles. So you don't have to worry about calories so much if you're in a ketogenic state, but if you are eating a carbohydrate diet, a higher carbohydrate diet, you absolutely have to be careful. You cannot undereat. You have to look and calculate what your basal metabolic rate is and make sure that you're never going below that. Okay? Thank you.